Exomologiste to Kyrio te agathos, alleluia.
Otis ton neona to eleos aftu, alleluia.
So just behind the camera, Brother Orlando is having a debate. And so as to not cause a distraction to him or to pull away the people that are listening to his debate, I'm just going to try and speak calmly as possible. But I want to talk about the abortion amendment that was added onto the crime and policing bill by Tonia Antionazzi, as she should be known. This was a major change in the constitutional framework of the UK. It essentially said that infant boys and girls had no value under the law or in law, and as a result can be terminated right up to and including the moment of birth. Now, this major change to our legal framework was debated for only 45 minutes. The crime and policing bill originally had no changes to abortion law involved. And so this bill, this act of parliament, was hijacked by radical feminazis to advance the cause of, as they see it, women's rights. It basically takes away the value of life for small unborn children, right up to and including 9 months. Now, most abortions, when they're carried out, are not going to be at the 8-month or the 9-month mark. It's only ever a minority of abortions that are carried out at that time. But let's be clear, in the UK, we have just legalized infanticide. We've just legalized infanticide. We now live in a country where it's illegal to pray inside your own head or to think certain thoughts near an abortion clinic, but it is completely legal to chop off the hands and feet of 8-month-old babies, so long as that when you're cutting them up, they are inside the womb and not outside the womb. Let's be clear about this. If you were to lumbar puncture a baby's skull and suck out its brains outside of the womb, you would be considered a monster and a criminal, ranked right up there with Myra Hindley. But as of this week, we now live in a country where if you do exactly the same thing to a baby inside the womb, you have committed no offence, you have committed no crime. If you chop up a baby with scissors outside of the womb, you would be considered a savage, a monster, and a criminal. And yet if you do exactly the same thing inside the womb, in this country, it is now considered legal. And this was all decided in a 45-minute debate in an amendment to a bill that never had any intention of raising the topic, from a party that never put it in its manifesto, ever. We now live, and we are now seeing the real fruits of the culture of death in the UK, something that Christians have been railing against for decades and for generations. St. John Paul II said, "Laws which legitimize the direct killing of innocent human beings through abortion or through a euthanasia are in complete opposition to the inviolable right to life, proper to every individual. They thus deny the equality of everyone before the law. We now live in a world where a baby born outside of the womb, 1 minute outside of the womb, has more rights than a baby 1 minute from being born. These two babies are not equal under the law in the United Kingdom. Viable babies from 22 weeks onwards now do not receive the same legal protections as a baby just born or a baby born early. We now live in a country in which you do not have the same rights depending on which side of the birth canal you are. This, along with Kim Ledbetter's Euthanasia bill, which was also passed this week, have once again demonstrated the de-Christianization of the United Kingdom. It is a further step away from the doctrine of the Imago Dei, the image of God, that Christians build upon when they talk about the value of life and build a pro-life culture upon. We as a society have become ignorant of the fact that the doctrines that we believe in lead to the values that we act by. And when we do not say that human beings have an innate dignity that is couched in some metaphysical reality, then all human beings merely become functions of something else. Now, when the Nazis did that in the death camps of the Third Reich, we were all rightly horrified. And when the Stalinist communists did it in the gulags, we were all rightly horrified. So why are we not rightly horrified by the fact that liberals are going to be butchering children in abortion clinics up and down this country? Why are we not horrified that the National Health Service is going to be promoting an industry of death through a euthanasia? Your doctrines give rise to your values, and the abandonment of Christianity has real consequences. Let us be clear, human sacrifice is always and at all times pagan in origin. Whether we are sacrificing babies to the god of self and the idea of my own personal journey, my own personal fulfillment in the religion of self and self-aggrandizement, or whether we are sacrificing the elderly and the infirm to the god of the NHS to save money on an NHS budget that is wildly out of control, in a situation that because of the breakdown of the family, we now have countless bed blockers within the NHS. And so the liberals who worship the NHS have decided to sacrifice the elderly and the infirm for the sake of the NHS. This is paganism. How does it look like, United Kingdom, to live in a country where we attack the lives and the rights of the most vulnerable in our society? What then, as Christians, should we do in response to these actions by the liberal state? The first thing that needs to happen is that Christian medical practitioners within the NHS, within our pharmaceutical industry, form trade unions that are Christian in nature. And if any Christian nurse, GP, receptionist, pharmacist is forced to act against their Christian conscience, then the entire Christian population of the National Health Service should go on strike. And strike until the rights of Christians are protected in the NHS, that we do not have to participate in this cult of death, in this religion of humanity, in this religion of self. Furthermore, any MP who voted in favour of these two bills, to murder the unborn child or to murder the infirm and the elderly, who claims to be a Christian and goes to church, should be identified, and Christians should call upon the elders and the leaders of those churches to excommunicate and to disfellowship those MPs. They are not Christian, they are not living as disciples of Christ, but when they pass such laws, they are claiming to represent us all. They are claiming to do so in the name of Christ. And if they are not claiming to do so in the name of Christ, then they are openly admitting to act as those who are not the disciples of Christ. Furthermore, such clergy, such MPs have already been exposed and engaged with the Christian answer to these questions. And so ignorance should not be accepted as an excuse from them. They should be disciplined by their churches, excommunicated and disfellowshipped until they make public repentance for passing these laws. Furthermore, any Anglican clergy at all who supports these laws, like the Bishop of London, should be made a person non grata in every Christian congregation and network. Such clergy should be expelled from the Churches Together networks, expelled from ecumenical gatherings, expelled and uninvited from all true faithful Anglican congregations. And Anglican and faithful vicars should come out publicly and condemn their bishops and other clergy that have supported these bills. Furthermore, I say that anyone who talks about mass migration and mass immigration, who talks about population replacement, but does not talk about mass abortion and mass euthanasia, I say to you, you have not joined up the dots. Mass migration is a direct result of the continued death of peoples of this population of these countries in the West from World War II onwards, through the abortion laws, divorce and contraception. Labour has become a party of death, subject to a cult of death. It seems to think that praying is more criminal than chopping up babies and encouraging the elderly and the infirm to die. They seem to think that it is more important to cover up rape gangs that molest little children than it is to protect the unborn, the elderly, and the seriously ill. The Labour Party is a political party that has to die. If you are part of a trade union that funds the Labour Party, first protest in your trade union and demand a rupture of the connection, or tear up your trade union card and work to establish Christian trade unions across the UK. If you are a voter of the Labour Party, are you yet ashamed of what you have let in to this United Kingdom? Are you yet embarrassed by what you voted for? If you are someone who is ever on the receiving end of a lecture from anyone who supports these bills, but especially anyone within the Labour Party infrastructure, simply refuse to take the lecture, these progressives have no moral high ground to lecture any of us.